Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at ComputerAmerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@ComputerAmerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology. I hope all of you are having a great day. I am your host, by the way, Ben Crossman. And I hope you're all having a great day as we get things kicked off here. And of course, in Monday, traditional fashion, well, things are a little bit rocky as we try to get our guest on for today. But for those of you paying attention, our guest, if everything goes according to plan, will be Jackpot Digital. And they have a couple of different products, but essentially they're all underneath this one company. And hey, it's everything from poker to other kinds of poker, but it's online poker. And yeah, it's really, really happy to have them on. And yeah, we're going to talk all about, kind of what makes them unique, what this idea of, kind of online gambling is, and hey, what is the possibility that it's going to be around here in the near future. Also, be sure to, before we get to that, be sure to check out a few things, including ComputerAmerica.com. That's where you'll find anything and everything having to do with Computer America. And that could be, and that could be everything from show notes, so links to our guest website or any articles or videos that we do. Any and all that kind of thing can be found at ComputerAmerica.com. Be sure to check out the contest. Yep, that's right. Be sure to check out the contest. And yeah, absolutely. Actually, just 1 second, folks. I hate to do this to you, but just one moment. There we go. Sorry about that, folks. So, so continuing on with the announcements, contest next Friday, Logitech giving away a great prize, and hey, we could be calling your name live on the air. Be sure to check out the video portion where you can watch Computer America and not just listen. Always fun, always always a hoot. And let's see. I think that's just about it. So yeah, we're working behind the scenes to get our guests, but let me just go over a couple of news stories that we're going to do here in the second hour. And that's a segment where we do computer and technology news, and just to kind of get you guys all all amped up for what we're going to talk about. There's of course news about the new Equifax, and there was a story going around that Equifax had purchased ID Watchdog, and that was an identity theft preventive service. And they purchased ID Watchdog, and they were going to offer the service through Equifax to protect your credit and all that kind of thing. And people were saying how that's kind of fuzzy because obviously, the big Equifax hack, I think we all know about that by now. And the fact that they purchased this company and then had the massive data breach, which then would essentially require everyone to look into something like ID Watchdog or another, kind of credit monitoring service. People are obviously, trying to connect dots. And I'm not saying that there are not dots. I'm just saying that we're going to talk about a story and how plausible of a theory that is, because, spoiler alert, it's probably not too plausible. We have other stories, including about CRISPR. That's a technology that lets gene editing software actually splice out harmful parts of the gene and things like that. So, it could be the next cure for certain kinds of diseases that are, kind of preventable at birth, through this new technology. It's great, and they're saying that it could result in more successful birth rates. So personally, I really want to keep up to date on CRISPR because it's going to be one of the biggest medical breakthroughs as far as technology goes, in this century, without a doubt. So really want to keep up to date with that. So, folks, I hate to do this to you again, but just one moment. There we go, folks. All right, we're gonna try something here. We're gonna try to get our guests on the phone here. So bear with me just a moment as we get things kicked off here. And again, traditional Monday. I'm sure this is riveting programming. So let's see. Oh, there we go. That's the problem. All right, here we go. So we're gonna try to get a guest on the phone here. And again, we're going to be talking to Jackpot Digital. Let's see how this goes.
Hello?
Oh, hi, Jake.
Hi.
Hi, Jake. Perfect. All right, this works. So, hi, Jake. Ben from Computer America, obviously, and yeah, we're kind of trying to get the show rolling. So, everyone out there.
Let me ask you: is it easier if I call you from my landline?
No. Actually, this is perfect. If this will do for the interview.
Okay, great. And how
perfect.
long will the interview take?
It's actually happening right now. So,
Okay.
yeah. So I'm.
About how long will it take?
About half an hour.
Okay, great.
All right, so everyone, welcome onto the show, Mr. Jake, and welcome onto the show, Mr. Jake Kalpakian, and he is the CEO and president of Jackpot Digital. So, and again, everyone, sorry for the technical difficulties, but we're off to the races. And so, Jake, for everyone out there, I know that you were, on the show a couple of years ago. Happy to have you back. Love it when, companies, definitely make it back on the show. But for all of, maybe the new listeners out there, give us a little bit of background on Jackpot Digital and a bit of background on yourself. How did you get involved with the company?
Sure. I founded the company actually in 1999. At that time, we were called Las Vegas from Home, and we built online casino software. And we specialized in multiplayer online software, specifically poker, and then we branched out. And we kept building software throughout the last 15 to 17 years. And we were approached by a company that was the leading electronic poker manufacturer, table poker manufacturer in the world. The company was called PokerTech. They were based in North Carolina. And they came to us saying that they were looking for wireless software, and we had built a lot of library of games. What happened was we already had that wireless software, and then they came to us and asked, could you build a second generation product for what we're doing on electronic table poker, which is not online poker. It's just a dealerless table where you can play poker at a social setting or in a casino or a cruise ship. So we were intrigued by that idea, so we started building that product, hoping to have them as a customer of ours. What happened was they ended up being bought out, and the company that bought them out ended up being bought out themselves by a very large company, and they were and it was bought out from the standpoint of other businesses. The end result was they weren't interested in the electronic table side of things, but we were, because we saw a niche business there, and we had started building a second generation product to and have a better mousetrap, if you will. And so we bought that business, and we've been developing what I would call a very, very unique product, one that is going to, I think, really revolutionize the gaming industry. And so far, we've had enormous interest in it. It's a one-of-a-kind type of product, and so far the traction has been very good, and I'm expecting it to only get better. So, how we got into how we got into this business, and we changed our name a couple of years back to Jackpot Digital to focus on the fact that we were more of a B2B operator now, where we were selling or manufacturing equipment to casinos as opposed to directly selling a wireless product service to the consumer. And so a couple of years ago, we changed our name to Jackpot Digital, and we basically have been building, whereas one of our customers have said, you've taken a 1980s cell phone and come up with an iPhone 8. So the product we have is a one-of-a-kind touchscreen, 84-inch, where you sit down and you can play poker, and you don't need a dealer, and it's for actual settings like casinos and cruise ships and racetracks and poker rooms, where you play against each other, but the look and feel is as if you're actually handling cards, handling chips. It's much more advanced than the first product that was developed by PokerTech, because we had the ability, when we met with PokerTech, also met with their customers, and they told us what the drawbacks were, what the weaknesses were, and if they were to do things again, what they would build. So we took that information and tried to build a second product, which we have, something that would be more universally adopted by the players. From the operator standpoint, it's a no-brainer because it's a much better product. You make a lot more money. There's more games. There's more choice, more flexibility. But for it to truly be successful, we really wanted the end user who's playing the game to have a lot more stimulation, if you will.
Right.
And what we have had a library of games, and what we're able to do is transfer that knowledge and of building software and build that software internally into actual machine. And we've done that. And it's not just a table that you can play poker, but now there's so many other options. For instance, a lot of poker players fold a lot of hands, and so there's some downtime in between hands. And if you go to casinos, you see them with iPads playing online poker while they're actually at a physical table. So what we said was, why not get them occupied by being able to play other games like blackjack, baccarat, betting on horses, or many other different types of games that they can play while sitting at the table. So you would fold your hand, and then you can open up a little window on this 84-inch touchscreen, and you can play blackjack or baccarat until a new hand is being dealt. You can bet on horses. If you want, you can order food, order drinks. And on top of that, we've also built all the bells and whistles for bonusing and comping and tracking, all the regular features a casino would require, which the original product didn't have. So now we've built basically a giant iPad where you could sit around and play your friends or strangers, and when you're not playing, you can occupy your time with just about anything else you want to do.
Yeah, no, and for anyone out there watching the video portion of the show, we just showed off. You have a 1-minute YouTube video. I definitely recommend everyone go check it out. Goes very, very, kind of well. It shows you how the cards are dealt. Shows you the animations. I mean, it's very, very smooth. Hand-to-hand transitions are, kind of very, very seamless. I mean, let's back up, just a little bit here. Obviously you've been in the business for 18 years. This idea of this table, this is certainly something new. How would you say kind of the idea of not just online poker, but, digital poker? Because, I've been to a number of casinos, and they still have dealers, they still have cards. It's, it's still very much, just like it's been for the past 100 years. Do you see a need, or, are businesses kind of eager for something like your technology, or are you making it and saying this is just going to be better and people are going to want it?
That's a good question. It's really a combination of many things. First of all, our largest customer right now is Carnival Cruises, and we expect to have a lot more of their business and other cruise line business with this new product. Because, for instance, here's a venue where they have small casinos. When I say small, they're a pretty large casino operation because they have so many vessels, and by door, they, I think, arguably are the largest casino operation just because on a door-to-door basis. But their casino floor is not as big as the Vegas ones, but more to it. They can't staff a full-time poker staff, on the boats. They'd rather have those rooms go to customers, and then you need extra staff. You got to pay them. Where these tables are good are venues like that, or racetracks, or special situations, particularly mom and pop, small-time and medium-sized casinos. And when I say small-time, I don't mean to demean it. They're just smaller operations, mid-sized operations, where the operator just simply usually can't carry a full-time poker staff and does not offer poker. Now they're able to do that with this product. So there's also situations, for instance, where the minimum hourly wage is going up in certain states, and poker rooms there that pay their dealers those amounts, they contact us and say, look, we're going to close down the poker room because or a portion of it because we can't keep up with the expenses. But these tables allow them to run tournaments, which will allow them to keep certain tables open that have dealers. So we actually are complementing their business and making the poker business even more viable, simply because they can run tournaments without having to employ dealers, and then they can still have their cash games with dealers. Very much like when online poker came out, everyone said, well, this new technology, it's going to crush land-based poker and it'll close it down. But the actual opposite effect happened, where people played online and a lot more people started playing poker, and they started frequenting the casinos more often. And I expect that type of positive to happen in this industry, where people are able to play poker in a small bar in Montana, or in basically a venue that doesn't regularly carry poker, and now is able to. Interestingly enough, a couple of the big hotels on the Strip in Las Vegas, they've been closing down their poker operations, but they've recently contacted us and said, we are looking at closing our poker operation because it just doesn't pay to keep these dealers on staff on the sideline because there's so much choice. But now we can still offer that product at our casino with your product. So we're very happy about that. And as I said, it'll continue to make that product more viable. And what's interesting is the flexibility of the product. Let's say you don't have any poker going on that night. You can easily convert the table into a blackjack table, into a baccarat table, or it could do many other gaming functions, so that you have that flexibility to give the customers what they want. If it's poker one night and another game another night, or portions of the night, it gives great flexibility. And this is something for the operator that is very good. But at the same time, like I said, what we wanted to make sure was we wanted to make the end user experience with the technology as stimulating and as fun as possible, and I think we've done that.
So yeah, and that segues very, very nicely into my next question about the learning curve, because if this is something available to the general public and on Carnival Cruises or the Vegas Strip or something like that, they're not going to sit down and they're not going to go through a tutorial and they're not going to do blah blah blah. How has the learning curve been for new users? Maybe and obviously we're assuming that they have at least some experience with poker, at least, but maybe not with a poker table such as this. How's the learning curve for new users?
That's a very interesting question, and I've been actually enlightened through this process, because what we found is a lot more people who are novices to the game feel more comfortable playing this game or this style of product, because as opposed to a dealer, they wouldn't know necessarily what their options are if they're new to the game, of course. And I know a lot of poker players on the table help out, but still there's a feeling of intimidation when you have to ask, what you can do or can't do. With this product, First of all, it has all the easy natural prompts that you can either, it gives you all the options. And it prompts those options with bet, raise, fold. It gives you the size of the options that you can do. So it's very self-learning, if you will. Second, the way the product has been built, we thought there might be some intimidation from the technology side of things. But when we did our, let's call it testing with a couple of testing groups, we found that they were able to adapt to the product within a matter of a few minutes. It's very what's the word I'm looking for?
Self-explanatory, right.
Self-explanatory. So you sit down and it gives you all the prompts that you need. And there's also certain windows that if there's frequently asked questions, there's certain rules and explanations at your fingertip that you can browse through, not have to ask anything if you don't want to. But as far as the gameplay, it's already adjusted to be able to give you all your options and without having to ask around. It's really a product that's very cool, and quite frankly, I'm surprised how many new people who might not necessarily have played are interested to play this product.
Right, and so in that kind of with this product, you're obviously taking out the dealer. This is one of the big kind of features of the table. But that was something that I think with online poker, it was always a big question mark. I think they've overcome that, through years and years and reputation. But I think you're going to have to do it all over again. And it's the idea that, it's code, it's software, it's something that you can't see. It's probably proprietary. And how are people to know that, they're not facing up against a dealer, they're not facing up against someone that they can look in the eye and see if they're cheating or not.
Right.
The software side, how do you know it's not rigged?
So it is proprietary. It is proprietary, and we also have some patents that are on the old machines or on the current legacy product that with Poker Pro that are currently in place, and we've applied for other patents for the new product. Now, the product is like a slot machine or any other table game machine that would go into a Las Vegas or North American regulatory casino that would be bound by regulatory compliance. So we have to actually get what's called GLI testing, and we need that approval. So what would happen is all the algorithms are tested, all the functions of the product, of the actual table, the hardware would go through the same scrutiny a slot machine would, and only then would it be allowed to be entered into the markets. That's to begin with. So it goes through all the regulatory compliance and scrutiny. Mm-hmm. Second of all, it's not in our favor, particularly on the poker side of things, to run any type of, just like online, to run any type of game that doesn't mathematically check out. We don't have an interest in winning ourselves. What we just want is an entertainment product, or the players get entertainment value from playing, and we just take a small rake on the actual poker product. And that's the main emphasis or focus of the table itself. Now, we also do offer other banked casino games like blackjack and baccarat, etc., on the side, and even those games still have to go through regulatory compliance to make sure that the percentages and the payouts and the random number generator is compliant as if you were using a deck of cards or 6 decks of cards in blackjack.
Right.
So we still have to go through all that. And, to be frank with you, it's a business that you don't need to cut corners. If you just build it right, the players appreciate it, and they do trust it. And you can see that already with now of 15 years of long-term adoption in online casino, particularly on online poker.
Yeah, and I think this is really. I know that just like you said earlier, everyone thought that online poker was going to displace and completely ditch traditional poker, and you're right. It's augmented it. It has not replaced it, and if anything, the idea of being an online poker player and the idea of watching poker online turned poker into a spectator sport. I know there are channels, but watching internet streams of people playing poker are very, very popular. So, and this kind of segues into my next question, which is apparently millennials, the age group that I'm part of. I mean, we're not, I guess, the biggest gamblers, or at least, casinos are more of a novelty than they are, a regular attraction. And it's, you have here that casinos are desperately trying to attract the next generation of customers. Do you think that this, kind of spans the age groups? Because, you don't want to ditch all of your regulars, but you also want to be seen as innovative, new, and exciting. Do you think this is a good way to, bring in those younger players?
I not only do I think it, but I'm being told that by others. The fact is, people are really excited with this product. It creates a lot of buzz whenever people are around a table. And they basically have said, one of the things is the millennials have not been participating as much in the casino industry. And this is a type of product that they feel more comfortable and more at home with. But at the same time, it's simple enough for my vintage, if you will, to sit down and play, and older vintages to sit down and play. So it covers all the generations and all the demographics, but it does specifically look at trying to attract the younger crowds. And this is a product that I think they'll feel more comfortable with. And with the short attention spans and shorter attention spans, it seems, with all of us, this is a product that makes you occupies your time and your interest with other features, bells and whistles. While you're not playing a specific hand or game, you're able to do other things. And I think that is going to continue to keep the millennials and the younger crowds general interest.
So tell me about some of the customization on the on the casino side. Whoever owns the table side. Because in my experience, when you go to the casino, the $1, the $5, blackjack or Texas Hold'em, what have you, those tables are usually packed to the gills. You can't get a seat. It's and especially if you're there with friends, you're never going to be able to get your friends all in one table. But right. they have tables of $50, $100, $20. They're usually ghost towns, and no one wants to sit down and play them. If you're an end user and you have this table, how hard is it to set it from a $1 table, a $5 table, that kind of thing? Can you do that on the fly? Does it have to be
within seconds? You could just ask the poker, this one operator that is required to adjust the requirements. For instance, what's interesting about this game is not only, as you mentioned, can you change the limits of the game, but let's say Steve next to me and Jeff across the table from me are taking forever to play, and you've asked, you don't want them to use their allotment of time. You have a shot clock, just like online, where you have to have so much time to make a decision, or either raise, bet, or fold. And there is a clock countdown on this. In this case, if you think you want to make it where it's a faster game, you can make that. Everything is self-controllable, so you can make it a 10-second game or a 15-second game where you have 15 seconds to make a decision when it's your turn. So it is all flexible depending on what the operator wants to set, subject to what the players feel like playing. So in a matter of moments, you can go with the flow.
Makes perfect sense. And our last question before we have to say goodbye, and this has been super interesting, but you mentioned that there's this is kind of like company after company. This is publicly traded on on the TSX Venture Exchange in the U.S. We have the call numbers here. We'll put them in the show notes.
Sure. Do you want the call numbers on the U.S. over-the-counter bulletin board? Sure. It's excuse me.
No problem.
Babbling here. It's JPOTF, Jackpot F, JPOTF, and that's on the USQB, and on the TSX Venture, it's JP, as in JP. John Paul.
Very, very simple. Right. And everyone, please go check that out. Again, it'll be in the show notes, as will links, as will videos. And Jake, I apologize for the trouble getting you on, but I'm happy we did. This is this was super great. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
All right, our pleasure. So have a great day, everyone. Jackpot Digital, there they go. All right, so, and continue on. Music means we're going to take a break. We'll be right back. Computer and technology news. Get to some of those stories here in just a moment. Hope you all are, have enjoyed that first segment and stick around for the second one. Everyone, Computer America.
We are all Brother Wolf. 10 years ago, a group of locals banded. We are all Brother Wolf. 10 years ago, a group of locals banded together to create positive change. We took animals into our homes, held adoption events at local retailers, and talked to the community about our mission to help build a no-kill Asheville. A decade later, we have achieved so many victories for animals in need. There's been so much progress, yet there's still so much to do. As part of our year-long celebration, we encourage you to become a member of our special Compassionate Circle program. With a monthly donation of $10 or more, you will have behind-the-scenes access to the work we are doing at Brother Wolf. Our goal is to reach 1,000 members because we receive no government funding. Working together, we can help build and sustain no-kill communities. Learn more at compassionatecircle.bwar.org. We are a 501c3 tax-deductible organization.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America show. 30 minutes past the hour. I hope you all are having a great day. Obviously, it's a Monday. There's no other way I can put it. So welcome into the program. And yeah, we are continuing on doing computer technology news. If you want to check out more about our guest, by the way, it was Jackpot Digital. We had the CEO and president on here with us talking about their latest Blitz, which is their table. It's, I don't think that you're going to be able to get one for your poker room, downstairs. But if you are a casino or you run some kind of casino operation, hey, this could be interesting to you. Or if you frequent one, keep an eye out. This could be coming to a casino near you. And it seems like the natural evolution of automating as much as we can. And, it seems like there's a lot of great perks that come along with this kind of table. So be sure to check that out in the show notes. Now, in the meantime, we have a few things to discuss here on Computer and Technology News. So why don't we get into it? Here we go. Computer and Technology News, brought to you by Fire Dragon Security. All right, everyone. So why don't we get started with, let's pick a couple stories here. We're going to get started with this one. Now, this made the rounds yesterday, as far as I know, on the news and around social media sites and things like that. And yeah, it's this is actually linking to a press release, and we're going to try to play devil's advocate as best we can, because on the surface it doesn't look exactly pretty. So what happened here was the link in the show notes is directly to actually the press release from Equifax saying that they acquired ID Watchdog, a leading identity protection and resolution services company. So essentially, leading identity protection, so they'll monitor your credit, and resolution service, so they'll help you get your credit back or help you with any fraud cases after you've been compromised. And again, this is by Equifax, and this coming out, notice the date, August 10th. Now, a lot of the Equifax hack, kind of came to light around early September, only about like 2 weeks ago. It seems longer, but only about 2 weeks ago, whereas so, August 10th, it seems like, wow, that's great timing. But then it should be noted that the actual hacks took place sometime in June or July. Many sources pointing to July, many others pointing to even earlier for other hacks. So obviously this is not the first time they were hacked, but this most recent largest one was in July. So they were hacked in July, they knew about it, and then they didn't release it until September. And between those two dates, they purchased, or at least they finalized the purchase of ID Watchdog. Now, that alone, that timeline set off a lot of alarm bells. Why? Well, because if you know you were hacked, if you know that pretty much every American in the United States is going to need some kind of identity protection credit monitoring service. You know that as a company because you've been hacked. You are the company that is responsible for them needing this new service. And before you tell them, a month before you do, you let the ink dry on your latest deal to purchase one of the, as they called it themselves, leading identity protection and and resolution services. That could be a good source of revenue because this is not free. This is not something that you're going to offer people, out of the kindness of your heart. But this is something that people are going to need, and it could be, very, very lucrative for you. The fact that now that everyone, just like they need insurance, they're going to need some kind of credit monitoring service, and you just purchased one of the biggest ones in the industry. Now, is that exactly how it happened? Probably not. It's unfortunate the timelines match up that way, but yeah, and the press release itself isn't much more than Equifax, and they said that they announced that they acquired ID Watchdog for approximately $63 million, and that ID Watchdog is an award-winning identity theft protection and resolution company providing solutions to the employee benefits marketplace. So ID Watchdog will continue to be based in Denver and provide uninterrupted service to its clients and consumer base, saying that, quote, "We are excited to have ID Watchdog's industry-leading products become an important part of our organization." And yeah, they said that merging our identity solutions and industry relationships will significantly increase access, range, and depth of our employee benefit solutions. So Equifax is essentially saying there that this is a natural fit, that they handle credit and they handle people's identities, and if they can integrate ID Watchdog services into their portfolio, it's only going to make everything safer. It's going to make everything better, and it's more of a why not situation. Now, why I don't think that this is such a big deal is because, as it's been pointed out, these large deals, they don't happen overnight. You don't buy a company for $63 million over the course of a week or even a month. These things at a minimum, because you have to talk about stocks, you have to talk about shares, you have to talk about who owns the company, you have to talk about where all the employees are, you have to talk about services, if you're outsourcing, if you're keeping the current employees, if you are keeping all of the assets, if you're selling off some of the assets, if the previous company, if the company before they sell has to get their books in order, you have to talk about just blah 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 blah. It's a lot to go over, and it's something that undoubtedly takes a minimum of 6 months or more, and it could even be longer than that. So, this could have been in the works, admittedly, until we know the actual timeline of when this happened. We're kind of speculating here, but as far as these kind of mergers go, and especially when one purchases the other, it's not just a 50-50, kind of share, but when one purchases the other, this is probably the makings of, a year-long process to make sure all the I's are dotted, the T's are crossed. It's just, unfortunately, it happened in that timeline of July they were compromised. August they sat on the information and purchased a identity theft protection service, and then September they let the public know. Yeah, it looks worse than I think it is, but I'm sure something like this is going to have to be researched by some kind of legal department and law enforcement somewhere. But I don't think this is the thing that's going to be making headlines. Instead, it's just coincidence. And I know that there's not a lot of coincidence in this world, but this has the feel of it that it actually is. So with that being said, why don't we go ahead and jump over to our next story? And poor Equifax, poor American public, they have to they have to keep up to date on this stuff. So here we go. This next one, and this is about a technology called CRISPR, and it's not for chicken, not for crispy or chicken. Instead, this is a tool that can be used to cut out certain parts of genes, be able to insert other parts of genes, and essentially fix code. That's what that at the end of the day, that's what it is. CRISPR is a technology that is able to cut out blocks of genetic material and insert the proper genetic material. And essentially, if you know exactly what you're doing and and what you need to target, then you can fix things such as dramatic birth defects, uncurable diseases, just all kinds of horrible things. And if you get to it fast enough, well, hey, CRISPR is probably the best way to go. But check this out. Here's another kind of side effect, and it makes all too much sense. This coming from Saqib Shah, saying that CRISPR gene editing could result in more successful birth rates. And let's face it, in the first world, birth rates, they're still pretty good. I think the U.S. has some of the worst, but even there, birth rates, the odds of you having a successful baby are pretty darn good. I would say upper 80s, lower 90s. I think I'm not too certain about this, but check this one out. This coming from Engadget, and gene-edited human embryos are offering new insights into the earliest stages of development and could reduce the risk of miscarriage at the outset of pregnancy. And in a new study, researchers from the UK's France Crick Institute used CRISPR to block a gene in human embryos. And by stopping it from functioning, the researchers saw that it no longer produced its resulting protein. And as a result of not having this protein, the human embryos cease to attach or grow sufficiently. So their findings illustrate the importance of the gene in human development. So they were able to target a gene, it blocked the protein, and the human embryo were unable to continue to develop after they've removed that gene. So they know the importance of this new protein, or at least they know the importance of the protein and why, if it's not present or if it's in low values, that you need to boost that to obviously, hey, prevent a miscarriage. And they said that usually this type of study is conducted on mice, which are easier to come by and carry less ethical considerations. But the scientists knocked out the gene in 41 human embryos donated by couples who had undergone in vitro fertilization. And the researchers claimed that the switch allowed them to highlight key differences between the role of OCT4, which is again this protein, in human and mouse models. And that the team are hoping that their findings can help scientists better grasp why some women suffer more miscarriages than others, and why maybe the rate of in vitro fertilization, or at least how to improve the rate. So they're saying that this isn't the first time scientists have used human embryos. And again, what they're saying is, they, in a lot of cases, in a lot of scenarios, they use mice for studying. But when it comes down to the nitty gritty, when it comes down to actually getting something to market that will help people, you have to try it on, human embryos at some point. And this was the point, and they were able to get a lot better information than they could from mice. So they're saying that this has happened before, where a team of researchers from Oregon became the first to use CRISPR technology to cut out genes that cause inherited diseases in humans. And before that, scientists in China were able to use CRISPR to prevent the passing on of a fatal blood disorder. This is why CRISPR is so important, is that, it may be able to help current, people, but it's able to do things at such early stages that it prevents diseases that otherwise have no known cure, or, you can manage the symptoms, but you can never actually cure it. And CRISPR is kind of the first real step towards actually preventing these diseases from ever being diseases in the first place. So they said that the new study is being hailed as a compelling first step, saying that we were surprised to see just how crucial this gene is for human embryo development, but we need to continue our work to confirm its role. And that other research models include studies on mice suggested a later and more focused role for OCT4, so that our results highlight the need for human embryo research. Which, yeah, makes sense. If you eventually want to bring something to market for humans, yeah, you're going to have to go to, mice are great for a lot of things, but human embryos are needed. All right, so let's go for something a little bit less heavy. All right, how about this one? Comcast. We talk about them from time to time, and this is something that is probably going to take off, in the next couple of years. This is just going to be the way of things. So, we're going to talk about this, and it seems like a first, but I can't see it being the last. And of course, I'm talking about Comcast, and their cable service is going to go box free on LG TVs in early 2018, where they want to cut the set-top box for Infinity TV, but not the cord. And this is where I've been kind of surprised, because I'm a huge proponent of cord cutting. I am not a fan, but at the same time, I know that people, hey, you're going to do cable. But the idea of a set-top box, a receiver, with antennas probably, and tuners and everything, like a lot of that technology can be shrunk down so much and built into televisions. The idea of a set-top box is still kind of gross, Technology has advanced to such a point, and at the same time, we're still using technology from 20 years ago. Well, LG and Comcast seem to be partnering for a replacement. And here we have it, Mr. John Fingus from Engadget, saying that Comcast cable service goes box free on LG TVs. Again, so Comcast has already started offering access to Xfinity TV without a set-top box, but your choice of TVs has been limited. And we hope, and of course, hey, as the article points out, well, Samsung, that's about the only brand that carries it. However, you're about to get a wider selection. With LG's 2017 and 2018 televisions, will have access to Xfinity TV directly through the set once a beta app arrives in early 2018. And you'll get the same X1 guide as well as access to live and on-demand programming, including a cloud DVR, just without the hassle and cost of extra equipment. And logically, it'll start with the 2017 4K sets before moving on to the yet unannounced 2018 hardware. That's my big point. Cable boxes, they're a huge drain. Like, let's say you have 4 of them and each one costs $6. And that's low because you can get things like 4K receivers, you can get HD receivers, wireless receivers, DVR receivers, blah, blah, blah. It could be $30-$40 a month just in receivers. And this is allowing you the option to keep the cable, but do away with the receiver. Great. So it's no secret as to why Comcast is eager to get rid of box requirement, despite the profit it can make from leasing gear to customers, saying that the reduced service costs could deter cord cutters put off by all the extra fees that go into cable. Tell us about it. And also, this helps lock customers in, saying that if your set has built-in Xfinity support, but would usually need gear to tune into a rival like DirecTV, which service would you prefer? And what they're saying is, if AT&T or DirecTV, what have you, doesn't make the same kinds of deals, and Xfinity is able to capture a lot of these popular television brands, you're probably going to go with the one that has the built-in support. You know, if all things are the same, why wouldn't you? And they said that whatever Comcast loses in service fees, it makes up for with more subscribers. And again, this is only saving you the one set-top box, but I can't see this stopping. You know, if cable is going to stick around, then this kind of solution is going to be the solution for, I think, everyone. You know, there's really no two ways about it. So, you know, again, we'll see more from Comcast, and I'm sure the other providers are working on their own deals. But, hey, that seems like a good move to me. All right, now, I really wanted to get this one in about Microsoft. And it was this one, but it was also... We'll start here, and then we'll, kind of wind our way over to Microsoft, because Microsoft just ditched Skype for Business, and I thought I had a story here queued up for that. I'll find it. So yeah, but before we get to that Microsoft story, we have another one, and this is in tandem with Facebook. Yeah, check that out. And they said that Microsoft and Facebook probably went halvesies on a cable, a sub-Atlantic cable with crazy fast speeds. So, you know, think about how fast your internet connection at home is. You know, this can be anything from, I don't know, 6 megabits a second if you are unfortunate, to all the way up to a gig, 2 gig in certain areas. Gigabits a second. That's pretty fast. But check out this cable. And again, the pictures, if you're watching, if you're watching the video portion, the pictures of the cable are super impressive. But check it out. Microsoft and Facebook just laid a 160 terabits per second cable that is 4,100 miles long across the Atlantic. And this is, I think this is a part that that a lot of people don't really think about. You know, they're out there. There are charts of all the cables that are running underwater that are just laying on the floor, kind of like, when you have to run that Ethernet cord from your router all the way through your house, and you plug your computer in directly. Yeah, that's essentially what technology companies are doing by connecting continents. And that's why sometimes you hear about the unfortunate situation where the entirety of Africa loses internet connection because someone drops an anchor where they aren't supposed to, and they sever that cable. Happens more often than you think. And I know that people really don't, maybe they think satellites play a role, or I don't know how they think that, data gets from Europe to the United States to Australia to China to blah, blah, blah. It's these cables that are just laying on the seafloor. And we have a new one. And they said that the cable is capable of transmitting 160 terabits of data, the equivalent of streaming 71 million high-definition videos at the same time. How's that for bandwidth? Crazy. And 16 million times faster than the average internet home connection. And they said that the cable will be operational by early 2018. And they said that the 4,000 long mile subsea cable lies 17,000 feet below the ocean surface, and extends between Virginia Beach, Virginia, and the city of Bilbao, I don't know, in Spain. And that Maria also stretches a route south of most existing transatlantic cables. Because of this, Microsoft says that the cable will provide resiliency for those living in the United States by safeguarding against natural disasters or other hurricane events, or other major events that might disrupt connections, like in Sandy. And, Microsoft's right, where if you look at the charts and the cables, and a lot of them go from the United States to somewhere in Europe, usually Great Britain, and kind of branch out from there, or to wherever it is, but they all kind of generally carry the same path. So if something catastrophic were to happen under the ocean, all of those would be severed at once. And this is Microsoft and Facebook saying, we're not putting all of our eggs in just one basket. So they said that Microsoft said that the project was completed nearly 3 times faster than usual in under 2 years, and that the cables are an open design, which will allow to evolve as technology does. And as the population of internet users around the world jumps, the Maria cable also provides a path to network hubs in Africa, the Middle East, and Asia, where the next billion internet users are expected to come from. That's another part that we haven't really talked much about, and it's about the growth of the internet and accessibility in these remote places. What are you going to do when you have a billion more people online? You're going to need this kind of bandwidth. So with that being said, let's see. So, all right. So, how about we talk about, and let's see, where to go. All right. So Microsoft, and there's some story about them with quantum computers. It's great. What I really wanted to get to was, here we go, Teams. Here's a story. So this one coming to us from TechCrunch, and let's try to squeeze this in, before the end of the show here. But Microsoft is going all in on Teams and plans to phase out Skype for Business. Skype for Business, it's been, this ugly little stepchild that, some people were using, some people weren't. I think for business, it was mixed results because, let's face it, not everyone uses Skype for Business. A lot of people, almost everyone has Skype because it comes natively, but Skype for Business, you kind of have to go out of your way. Well, they said that Microsoft Teams, which is the company's Slack competitor with deep integration into Office 365 apps, has seen a lot of pickup over the last few months, with over 1/8 organized, with over 125,000 organizations now using it in one form or another. And they announced that Teams is now going to be the core communications platform for the enterprise division. And until now, Skype for Business has been the product for this, and they will soon be phasing it out. That's right. And over time, Teams will replace the current Skype for Business client. Microsoft obviously knows that enterprises don't move fast, so for those who don't want to do away with the existing system, it'll launch a new version of Skype for Business on the server in 2018. But make no mistake, eventually, Teams, Microsoft Teams, is going to be the new one. And, we've had Slack on the show, and, and things, and we've had Skype on the show. Essentially, it's the idea that talking to people face to face or talking to them over Skype call isn't really the preferred method of communications anymore. It's the idea that you can have an ongoing text message conversation where you can reference back to it, you can share files easily, things like that in, kind of a more community setting. And that's what Teams builds itself to be. And, having that integration, having that sharing. And so Skype for Business going away, and all of its functionality, all of its usability going to be rolled into and baked into, instead of Skype for Business, into Microsoft Teams. So Skype for the individual user, not going anywhere. Skype for Business on its last legs. So really wanted to get that in. Everyone, thank you so much for joining us here for Computer America. I apologize again for all of the weirdness at the beginning of the show, but I think it went off just fine. And if you want to find out more about Jackpot Digital, if you want to find out more about computer and technology news, or just more about Computer America, check us out, computeramerica.com. We have you covered. So until then, everyone, have a great day. Catch you here tomorrow as we have on the program. Let's see. So tomorrow on the program, we have ProSoft Engineering. That's right. And yeah, ProSoft Engineering, they make software solutions and data backup for PCs. As usual, always fun. And yeah, hey, it's going to be a great show. Also, slate schedule change this upcoming Thursday. Gary K will not be joining us, so yeah, plan for that. Everyone, catch you next time. Thanks for joining us here on Computer America. See you then. Bye-bye, everyone.